Everyone who's new here, and of course to those of you who are back again, great to have you here. Bitcoin is currently trading at $109,850. In this video we will take a look together at possible scenarios for the price development of Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP and Solana. Things remain exciting, so make sure to watch until the end. So let's start with Bitcoin. What did we say about Bitcoin? We have said here that this was the inverted head and shoulders formatation, which broke to the upside. We went into the target of $108,100. I personally wanted to see a pullback into the fair value gap and from here the push to the upside. Instead, we continued pushing. Here was another target, $109,800. I can take this one out of the chart. This circle here as well, because this was a fair value gap which we have closed. This was the length of one shoulder, the left one, which we broke to the upside. I can also take this one out of the chart. This one too. The next target was the $110,300 down to $109,590. There we also had the resistance. And you can already see that the 110,000 round about that price mark is resistance at the moment. But what we built up is a bullish pennant. So we got this push to the upside and now we are getting a consolidation within a triangle. So a bullish pennant has, in my opinion, two targets. The first one is the target of the triangle, which is far more realistic to get. The second one is the target of the bullish pennant. So basically this up move here we put to the breakout point. So if we break the $110,320 to the upside, which is also resistance, then I think we have the good chance getting into the target of the length of the inverted head and shoulders formatation. Put that also to the breakout point. Target $112,500. Then the target of the triangle is going to be $113,350. And the target of the bullish pennant is going to be the $115,500. Also, we have a resistance over us on the weekly time frame where we connected all the all-time highs with each other. This is the dark blue trend line. And here you can already see that it worked for 2024 to 2025. And I think we are going to hit it again. So it's the round about $114,000 for Bitcoin. So in my opinion, we have a good chance breaking to the upside, have a good chance getting into the purple area which we have on the chart since a longer while. We have said that the $112,500 is going to be psychological resistance, $115,000 as well. We also have the trend line here at $114,440. So we had this purple area on the chart a bit earlier. Now we have the, I would say, verification of the chart patterns, which still have to break to the upside. For example, in yellow, the bullish pennant. Then I think with a very high chance, we are going to get our all-time high between the area between $112,500 to $115,000. In that area, I expect, I don't want to say a major pullback, but if we get into that area, then I expect a pullback because we are in the all-time high. We have an all-time high then. What is going to happen? Everyone is in profits, whoever is holding Bitcoin. So we have to think about it. Think about the person who bought for a very high amount of money, for example, $10,000, $20,000. Imagine that normal person who put that kind of money into Bitcoin at $110,000 price mark. He was in losses 3 months and now he has the chance to sell with a profit. If he's going to take profits, if the bigger players are going to take profits, then we should sell off. And I think afterwards we are going to get a pullback. We just have to track where the pullback is going to go. I can't tell you that yet. We have to find bearish chart patterns which direct us, similar to the bullish chart patterns, which are telling us 112,500 US dollar to 115,000 US dollar should be our target. We need bearish pattern, which directs us into lower prices. Afterwards, I think we have the good chance pushing to 125,000 US dollar. Because if we go into the daily time frame, then you can also see we had a cup and handle formatation from the past. Cup and handle, which broke to the upside. This can also be an inverted head and shoulders formatation. So basically, target is the roundabout 125,000 US dollar. And I think this is going to be the last push. I don't think that Bitcoin is going to go to 250,000 or something. I think 125,000 US dollar is very realistic, and this should be our overall cycle high, I would say, before we get a bigger pullback to the downside. And you think this is not possible? Okay. What did we see, for example, at 2021, in 2021? We got this major push to the upside. We got a huge correction. We got another all-time high, which was slightly higher than the other all-time high. And afterwards, a big correction, which went even for lower prices than the correction which we had. Let's go into Bitcoin. So, we have this push to the upside. We have a pullback. We have another push to the upside, another all-time high, which is slightly higher than the other all-time high. And then a correction, which goes lower than the lows, which we have here. So I expect once we get to 125,000 US dollar, that this was our overall all-time high, and afterwards we should see prices lower than 73,000 US dollar. So, if the push is going to happen to 125,000 US dollar, then I think the altcoins have a nice chance to shine. And they have to, otherwise it will get, I don't want to say bloody, but they should see a huge correction if they don't push to an upside sooner or later. And I would even say that most of the altcoins are even going to die after this cycle. Anyway, we had one bearish scenario for Bitcoin, which isn't actually a bearish scenario. So I would also say, if we lose the bullish pennant to the downside, which is the price mark of 108,950 US dollar, it is not going to be an issue. I think if we even lose the support at 108,300 US dollar, then this was a double top pattern. Target 106,000 US dollar. This can also be just a pullback before we get the strength to push into the purple area. So I would keep this scenario in mind. Let me take out this and this. I would draw that again. So afterwards, pullback, afterwards, new all-time high. So let's jump into Ethereum. For Ethereum, I have found something interesting. So let's jump into the 8-hour chart. So once I looked into the 8-hour chart, I have found out that this here is an inverted head and shoulders formatation, which is close for a breakout. So if we take the length of the left shoulder, which is this one here, and we put it to the right side, then you can see that the right shoulder is at the same length of the left shoulder. So this is a perfect inverted head and shoulders formatation. Let me take the inverted head and shoulders formatation. If we break it to the upside at the breakout point, I wouldn't say that the breakout point is going to be the 2,818 US dollar. So this orange trend line, I would say the breakout point is the 2,857 US dollar. That's why we'll make this trend line green as well. If we break the 2,857 US dollar to the upside, then I think the target of the inverted head and shoulders formatation is going to be the 3,300 US dollar if we take the length of one shoulder. If we take the length of the head, then the target is going to be 4,100 US dollar. Since we are on the 8-hour chart, it doesn't mean that once we break it to the upside, that we are going to push within 2 days into the 4K. It can take a week or even 2 weeks. What I think can happen very fast is closing the fair value gap, which is the circle area here. That's why we switch to the 1-hour chart. No. 4-hour chart. No. We still stick to the 8-hour chart. So we have a fair value gap in the area between 3,050 US dollar to 2,900 US dollar. If we break the 2,857 US dollar to the upside, then we should fill that fair value gap very fast. Then I want to see a pullback, which is a retest of the green trend line, and afterwards a nice follow through. First take profit 3,300 US dollar, second take profit 3,450 US dollar, and the third and last take profit, in my opinion, 4,100 US dollar. I personally doubt that we should see the area 4,000 US dollar. That's why I want to de-risk once we get a nice push to 3,050 US dollar to 3,300 US dollar. Because as you can see, fair value gap, fair value gap, fair value gap. So if we push to the upside, we can see a nice sell-off, getting all the liquidity from the market, liquidate all the long positions which we have, and then push to the upside. This is an unrealistic scenario. I doubt that we are going to get a pullback at 2,000 US dollar, but it can happen. I don't know if you have seen sell-offs like this before. That's a long squeeze. So if this is going to happen, then at least I saved myself with profits. So let's see if the 1-hour chart is giving us something. I haven't seen any kind of chart patterns. We are currently just pushing to the upside. We are getting a low, and higher low, higher low, higher low. Yeah, let's count this here as well. Higher low, higher low. And if we get another higher low, then I think the chance is very good we're breaking to the upside. You can already see it here. Push to the upside, higher low. 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 What can we expect next? Yeah, well, push to the upside, higher low. Push to the upside, higher low. So I think we are going to get a structure like this. It's going to get very interesting once we break the 2,857 to the upside. So I can also take the rising wedge in bright blue, this one here, which we broke to the downside. From the chart, we went near to the target. Our target was the red trend line at 2,400 US dollar. We went there. So basically, we don't have to hunt every single dollar, because as you can see, the chart pattern is never going to be 100% perfect. Sometimes yes, quite often yes, but not always. That's why we take profits even before the chart pattern is going to hit, once we see support. So I don't have much more to say about Ethereum beside this green trend line, which is currently, yeah, let's round it up, 2,700 US dollar. If we break it to the downside, then you can already see the next support is going to be the 2,590 US dollar. But I think we are very bullish on Ethereum at the moment. So what about XRP? So about XRP, we have said that this here might be an inverted head and shoulders formatation. So I took the length of the left shoulder, this one here. With that, I calculated the top at $2.48. I don't think that we are going to get there because we already worked off the length of the shoulder, of the right shoulder. We put it to the breakout point. Yeah, we almost break it off. So what now? I think we currently have two bearish chart patterns on the chart. The first one, let me first take out this one here. So the first one is a rising wedge in bright blue. The second one is a double top pattern. This doesn't mean that we are bearish on XRP. I still expect, even though we have two bearish chart patterns on the chart, that we can still get into the fair value gap, which is between $2.38, here's the price mark, to $2.43. Because we are so close to it. We are close to the fair value gap. This should get closed. From there, I expect a pullback. Like I said, we also have to calculate that in the future. And we have to see. If we break the $2.27 to the downside before we get into the fair value gap, then I think we can drop into the area $2.20 to $2.19. And from here we have to see if we are going to form a bigger bullish pattern, which direct us a direction into the fair value gap, or if this was a local high and we aren't that bullish anymore and can expect a bigger pullback. I think this is a bit more clear if we break the $2.19 to the downside, but I actually want to see some structure. So if we get into the area $2.20 to $2.19 in a very corrective way within, for example, a falling wedge, then I can say, okay, the chance is high that we should get into the area up here. So we have to check what XRP is going to do. Also keep in mind the $2.36 is going to be resistance. But we also have an old target of a rectangle. And you know already, if you are following my channel for a longer time period, then you also know that rectangles are unique. So we had a rectangle here. This was the rectangle. And if a rectangle breaks to the downside, then we are going to get into the target from the downside. But the target of the upside is still ongoing. We can also drop more, but we should meet the target of the rectangle in the future. And with the push into $2.43, even a bit higher, slightly higher, $2.45, then the target got hit of the rectangle. And then we have to see if we are going to push even more to the upside, if XRP has some time to shine, or if we are going to sell off from there into a bigger pullback like we have seen before. For example, this major push to the upside and afterwards a bigger pullback. I don't want to scare anyone. We still have to look for the chart structure, for chart patterns. So, next coin, Solana. Solana is more bullish than I expected. We have already said if the $152.50 breaks to the upside, then we should see the $154.50. This happened very fast with this push to the upside. If we break the 154 US dollar and 50 cents to the upside sustainable, was this push to the upside. With this big red candle, it wasn't sustainable in my opinion, not with my setup. But if we break it again to the upside, which we did, we got a pullback afterwards. Not the perfect retest, but still target was the area between 158 US dollar to 160 US dollar. We overshot it. So I can take this one out here, the price marks here as well. So this is just confusing. So what now for Solana? We have to switch into the 50 minutes chart, then you are going to see it far more better. This can also be a triple top pattern. So I have two scenarios in mind. The first one is that we are bullish. So if we break the $167.33 to the upside, then we should see the area between 169 US dollar and 11 cents. Switch back into the 1 hour chart. 4 hour chart. So if we break the $167.33 to the upside, then I think the target is going to be the area between 169 US dollar and 20 cents up to $171.50 for Solana. We have a fair value gap which would get filled right there. So back to the 50 minutes chart. Triple top pattern. That triple top pattern is going to get invalidated. We can also call it a rectangle, because this can also be a double bottom pattern. If we break it to the downside, which is the price mark of 163 US dollar and 75 cents, then you can already see it. We have a huge fair value gap lower than us. Target $160.25. This can just be a pullback like we have seen before. Push to the upside, higher low, push to the upside. Afterwards, pull back, higher low on the chart, push to the upside. So you can already see it. Push to the upside, pull back, push to the upside, pull back, push to the upside, pull back, and we always formed in higher low. What would happen if we break the 163 US dollar and 75 cents to the downside? Okay, then we get a pullback into the $160.25. Push to the upside, pull back, higher low, push to the upside. We have seen it. I don't want to count it. Just let's just say 10 times. We have seen it 10 times before. Why shouldn't it work an 11th time? Right? So I can imagine if this was not the pullback, then we are going to see one down to $160.25, maybe even a bit lower, higher low, push to the upside, or from now, push to the upside. Up to, like I said, 171 US dollar. I think if we lose the support at 158 US dollar to the downside again, then the higher low structure should get invalidated and should break to the downside. And then we have to see what is going to happen, because we have also a fair value gap down to 152 US dollar, which can also get closed. So I hope that you get some valuable information with today's update. I wanted to make you clear that the push to the upside is also not the most bullish one. It looks bullish, yes, because we came from down here from 140 US dollar, for example, and pushed over a few days into the 166 US dollar. So Solana made 18% to the upside within, I think, 4 days. But if you go into the bigger chart, then you can already see it. We also got a correction, 25%. And finally we see an 18% push to the upside. It can also just be a correction to this push to the downside, correction, afterwards another push to the downside. So we didn't get a validation for the altcoins that we are going for a nice push, which can even go into all-time areas for the altcoins. For example, Ethereum at 4,000 US dollar, Solana, for example, at, I don't know, what was the all-time high? I think here, 300 US dollar. I don't think that we are going to see that all-time high soon. I think it will take time, and yes, I think we can get into the 171 US dollar. Afterwards, another pullback, which is just going to be here a low, here a higher low, here a higher low, and then we have to see if we get a nice altcoin rally where we can see at least the all-time highs again for the coins. Chances are low, but once Bitcoin gets into 125,000 US dollar, and once the Bitcoin dominance is dropping, which is still in an uptrend, but once we get a nice break to the downside, then it might be possible that one or the other altcoin, is going to get a new all-time high. So with that said, in the next update, we will talk about Sui, AVAX, HBAR, Dogecoin, and afterwards Render, Tau, Kaspa, and ONDO. See you then.